Who Moved My Cheese? By Dr. Spencer Johnson. An amazing way to deal with change in your work and in your life. So let's get started. Now, Who Moved My Cheese is a very good book that is written by Dr. Spencer Johnson, who is now a best-selling author for 20 years. And here he just does a little thing where he creates a story about two mice and two little people who are basically people just mouse-sized, and mice and little people are friends. Try to find cheese. One of them is spelled with a lowercase c, and the other spelled with a capital C. Yes, there is a difference in this book. And there are all the types of cheese. Italian mozzarella, American cheese, British cheese, and a lot more. I'm just running out of accents here. And right now, Who Moved My Cheese has been a very good book. And I will repeat all the types of cheeses. And right now, I'm not going to find out all of that, and I'm not going to say them right now because I just lost track where they are. But for now, let's just say that cheese is just a very good metaphor to deal with change, even though the critics don't agree. Now, change may be a good thing. Most changes are good, but for critics, there are bad changes. Yes, there are such things as bad changes, where basically we change, but then it leads to a bad result, like criminal activities and criminals, for that matter. But sometimes we don't change. Sometimes when we don't change, we stay bad. So let me tell you the story first. Now there are four main characters, and their names are Sniff, Scurry, Hem, and Haw. Sniff and Scurry are mice, and Hem and Haw are little people who are mice size. Still the same complexity brain, still the same complexity organ system, everything the same, except cells a lot smaller. If atoms are smaller, then yes, their atoms will be smaller, or less atoms for that matter. And yeah. So, let me explain each people carefully. Sniff, who sniffs out change early. Scurry is a person who scurries into action, or should I say mouse. Hem, who is always a denier and resists change as fear, as he fears it will lead to something worse, like most people would. And Haw, who learns to adapt in time, and he sees changing can lead to something better. Here we can see a lot of these changes happening, and when we moved our cheese, it was basically old cheese. Hem and Haw literally decided to wait in Station C and literally see cheese popping out of nowhere, which actually never happened. And when Haw realized that the cheese sort of has like its own life, it won't replenish itself. It's not like water or the sun or artificial light or I don't know, action figures? Maybe not action figures, but at least it's not like sun or water, or maybe not water, or anything that's renewable for that matter, except probably it is a lot like action figures where there is a time when they stop going and they stop coming. But Who Moved My Cheese is a very good metaphor to deal with change. Let me explain in more detail right now. As I said earlier, Hem and Haw start waiting, and Haw realizes that the cheese has a life of its own and that its life ended. So he decides to go out through the maze, which is where they technically live, like a mouse maze, except it's way giant and it's like the ones we've probably been into in real life. Like, yeah. And Dr. Spencer Johnson is pretty specific on this part here. That there are lots of different changes and that there are lots of fears. Some of them are useful and we should respect a lot of some of the fears that help us to survive, and especially the instinct fears. But most of the fears that we actually have are useless and they aren't really useful at us. They're just like blankets of blackness and fear to cover us, like what they did in Soul, like that little monsters in Soul, the movie that is. And won't help us see change. It shows us, the blanket shows us that change is bad and that we should fear change. But if we pull the blanket away and ignore it, or at least sort of like see past the blanket, like how we see past pictures, then we can just see that change leads to something better and something like more awesome, like the innovation of technology. Some people thought that the technology change was a bad because it created automated machines and that means less jobs. But at least it created more production and fuel, for that matter, for all of those types of homes. Nowadays, we created new jobs, and those new jobs seem to be getting newer and newer, as well as becoming better and better. They're also becoming newer and newer. And that's why we have to embrace change properly. Now, let's get somewhere. Oh, yeah. And now, let's talk about the things and how to change. And these are the things about change. You have to change. You have to know that the change happens. You also have to anticipate change. You also have to monitor the change. Also, you have to adapt to change quickly. You actually have to change. You should enjoy change because change sometimes gives us better results. And be ready to change quickly and enjoy it again and again, even if it's only a few minutes, or even a few seconds right after your first change or your previous change. Here, Hall finds out that when he needs to change, he had to leave Station C, and when he arrived at Station N, he found way better new cheese. His friend, however, wasn't so lucky and said, "I want old cheese forever! And I will only eat new cheese once I get more old cheese." And let me give you some real-world examples. Let's say that you have a store that are selling these little encyclopedia books, 20 books per series. And then one of your people say, "Hey, how about we make this into like a little website where people can come on and pay us for just trying to get on the website. And there should be a first week trial free for everyone to try it." And basically, let's just say that you are afraid of change and you say no. But another store that is competitive decides to do that exactly after overhearing your worker actually say that and starts doing that online encyclopedia, like online dictionaries that they put on preload on MacBooks. And then you have to compete it, but no more customers, at least rare customers, come to buy the encyclopedia books anymore. Instead, they just go online and look at those little encyclopedias, e-encyclopedias. So you have to go out of business and you have to find a new job. You probably have to work at the e-encyclopedia company. And sometimes, if you don't change first, somebody else might take the advantage and change first to get the advantage of yourself. Sometimes there is things like being too late to change, but sometimes when you're too late to change, you can never change at all. You have to also quickly adapt to change, which is why you really have to go into the 21st century, Grandma. But right now, moving my cheese, just a very good metaphor to understand change. Sometimes what you think as a bad idea might actually be a bad idea, but it usually has a higher chance of being a good idea. Why people hate change is because they fear that it will lead to something worse. But no matter what everyone else tells you, or what peer pressure even tells you about change, always remember that change is good, that you should always adapt to change quickly. You should also enjoy change. And also make sure you get to adapt and enjoy change regularly and again and again. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you're watching this episode because you're in like a crisis, needs to change a dilemma, then please contact me. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. See you in the next episode. Click either of these two videos to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell button. Also hit the like button and share this video to everyone else in your community or your first Facebook page or wherever you actually can share this video, because I never shared a video before. and click the bell button. So also, you will get a notification whenever I upload a video. See you in the next episode. Shout out. Peace.